Hi everyone. Yes, I know it is 2 weeks more to PSLE, right? How are we all feeling? Are we all panicking? Can you all hear me? If you can hear me, just give me a thumbs up so that I know that it's loud and clear. Very good. Thank you everyone for participating, for coming down and listening to us today. Today will be Teacher Bun as well as myself. So I'll go on and share with you just some tips that I've already shared with you previously just before your prelim exams. It's going to be something very similar. Okay. And I will just share with you some time management tips as well, on how you can better manage the paper if you feel that you're stuck at any question or you're not sure of how to do something. Okay, so yes, it is actually I think it's about 1 week and 4 5 days thereabouts, right? I know all of you had your listening comprehension yesterday. Yes, so I hear it's very tricky. Well, paper is done. Okay, let's just forget about it and move on to our next paper, which will be our English paper on the 1st of October. Right? That being said, I know most of you are very nervous, right? Because it is just 2 more weeks before, you can officially relax for the rest of the year until you get your results, right? So I would strongly advise you to, just go all out for these 2 weeks, right? It's the last 2 weeks you have before you do the papers and that's it, you're done. So I hope that all of you are not stressed out. I see a couple of primary 5 students over here as well. Some of you are starting oral examinations next week. I wish you all the very best of luck. Okay, if you are students of 88 tuition, don't forget to listen to my oral lessons, okay, because I think there'll be tips in there that will be very useful for you. Okay, let's just wait a couple more minutes. All right, before we actually start the lesson. All right. Okay, I hope that you are doing very well. If you're very stressed out, don't forget to take short breaks in between. We are all not machines, so let us remember that. Okay, we all need breaks from time to time. Okay, and for today, I will not be getting I will not be getting many students to actually participate, right? Because I just want to impart some tips, share some last minute pointers with you. If you've got anything to share with me, could you please just type in the chat box, okay, so that I'll be able to address it. My chat box is actually open. I will not be able to type back to you obviously because it's a little bit hard for me to multitask, right? So if you've got anything urgent, just drop me a text, my number, right? If not, just wait for me to address it later when I deal with questions. Okay, so just feel free to type out whatever you've got to say in the chat box because it's addressed to me and I will, as best as I can, address those questions. All right, students, we've got about a minute more, right? Okay, go grab a drink of water, go wash your face if you need to because now I know it's tea time. Everybody's feeling a little bit sleepy. I'm not very sleepy. I just drank like I think a gallon of water, but let's hope I don't need a toilet break. Okay, but that being said, all right, it's 3:30 now. Welcome students to our last final tip session right before your PSLE. Okay, I hope all of you are doing very well. If not, just remember stay calm, stay cool. You've for English especially, I'm referring to English, my subject, right? Okay, you finished 2 papers, you finished your oral as well as your listening compre, you're down to your paper 1, your composition, situational writing, as well as your paper 2. Okay, that being said, I will not be going through any questions today. Today will solely be based on me sharing tips and time management skills, right? Any questions, I repeat again, students, please feel free to chat in the chat box, right? I will address them as best as I can. If not, feel free to just drop me a text per se. Okay, just some pointers, all right, that I will just go through. Obviously, if I pick on a student to actually share with me your thoughts, right, one student speaks at a time, please remain muted, right, your microphones, turn off all your web cameras for respecting each other, right? And of course, let's practice this very simple rule of respect. Okay, let me just go through today what what I plan to share with you. Basically, tips on your paper 1, your composition, as well as your situational writing. Okay, and paper 2, which is your grammar close, editing, comprehension close, synthesis and transformation, and comprehension open-ended tips. Okay, just give me a minute. I will grab my pen if I can. Just give me 1 minute. Alright, sorry about that. I think I took like 5 seconds. Okay. Now, let me just share with you because I would like to do some writing as well. That's why I'm gonna just put in some pointers. Students, you don't need to copy down anything because we will upload the slides today's Saturday. By Monday they'll be up. They should be up by Monday. All right. Okay. So at any point of time, any questions, again, I emphasize, right? Chat with me in the chat box. Okay. If not, let me just go through with you some tips that I have with regards to situational writing and composition. Okay, students, now let's take note that situational writing is, the segment that you basically have the task fulfillment, right? You have your, okay, I'm just going to put here TF, task fulfillment, which is out of 6 marks. Okay, and your language, which is out of 9 marks, which is why in total it is out of 15 marks. Students, I need to emphasize, and I'm going to emphasize again, these 15 marks, please, 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 as best as you can, score the full 15 marks. I have students actually scoring 15 marks. How? Right? Task fulfillment is a must. You need to get the full 6 marks, right? The information tasks that are set for you are all there. Make sure you find the relevant bits of information and put them down as best as you can. You do not need to even ensure excellent grammar vocab when you do these questions, when you put down these pointers, because at the end of the day, they're just marking you for points. 6 marks, take them, put them in your pocket. Very simple. Okay, TF, actually, let me just repeat again, students. TF is task fulfillment. Okay, how best you actually fulfill the tasks that have been set for you. All right, language. Now, this is where, many of you will vary, right? We have students getting 3, we have students getting 8. Now, what sets you apart from the others? Firstly, in order for teachers, basically for us to correct language, we need to have you talking about something. We need to have you writing about something in this case, right? So when you write about something, make sure you engage, right? The engagement part is what matters. Oops, sorry. Engagement. Okay, you need to have things to actually talk about. So go beyond what has been set for you in the task, in the situation, right? Come up with details that are not there, right? Of course, try not to go out of point, right? Be very logical, think about it very sensibly, right? And come up with pointers that relate to the question. Okay, as best as you can, do not go out of point, or rather do not venture into territory that is not at all mentioned in the situation. So for example, if they're asking you to talk about writing a report about maybe lost wallet, right? Please don't say anything about you going to the movie theater. Let's say you lost the wallet at maybe in the school canteen. Please don't talk about going to the movie theater. Please don't talk about going to the shopping mall, especially when the venue, the scene of the lost wallet is actually in the classroom, right? This is what I mean by going out of point, because it seems to be pretty much impossible that you will go and then you will come back and you realize that, you know what, it's lost. Usually you lose it within school, you realize it within school itself. So as best as you can, try not to let your imagination run too wild, right? Stay on track. Okay, there is also someone mentioned to me, thank you very much, Pranita, right? You mentioned to me formal, informal language is very important when it comes to talking about your language, which is out of 9 marks, right? So remember, students, when you are writing when you're writing a situational writing, right? Take note of whether your task set for you is formal or informal, right? Formal, of course, you have more formal terms, sorry, right? You're talking to your principal, you're talking to your teacher. Make sure your language is very polite, right? Very proper. Even if it's informal, please don't go like, hey, yo, how you doing, right? Try as best as you can to go, dear so-and-so, how are you? It's been a while since we've met, right? I've missed hanging out with you, things like that, right? Which is a little bit more informal because it's friendlier. You notice I use the word friendlier. I don't use the word like basically just going any old how with your language, basically, right? That means you're picking any term you want to use. You're just using any phrases that you usually use when you speak with your friends, right? You don't go yo, you don't go how you doing, right? That's just broken English, right? So let's make sure that we still write properly, we still address the other person properly, right? In language that is proper, right? It doesn't have to be very, very courteous, right? But at least it's very warm, it's very friendly per se. So that's what we mean by formal versus informal language. Okay, we make sure that we still use very good English to address the situation, to address the other party. Okay, so this is for your task fulfillment. What else constitutes under language besides engagement, your tone, right? Make sure you get the right audience. I've always told you students, pay attention to who you're actually writing to. Right, if they say write to your teacher, make sure you address the teacher, dear Miss Tan, dear Miss Chan, dear Mrs. So and so, right? Okay, make sure that it's very proper, it's very adequately addressed. I would say pay attention to whom you're actually speaking to. Okay, audience, and of course, one more thing I've always asked you to pay attention to, rather, right, is the context of the particular situation writing. Just now I used the example of a lost wallet, right? A report about a lost wallet. Right, what is the context of it? Were you in school? Was it after recess, right? Was it after your PE lesson? What was going on? How do you realize that it was lost? Maybe you went to the school hall, you went to the canteen to buy some food, and you realized at the canteen that, you know what, you're just in classroom, but you lost your wallet over there because you couldn't find it when you were in the canteen. Make sure you understand the context very clearly, and then share with the examiner through your situational writing piece. I cannot emphasize enough, background knowledge is extremely important, students, to making your point across, to sharing with the examiner what you know of the situational writing piece in order to score your at least, I emphasize, at least 13 marks out of 15. Okay, this is a very common score, right? Even my average students actually managed to get these scores, right? And I think many of you, if not all of you, should be able to get 13 without any problems. Okay, now I see some questions. Let me just address them since I'm talking about situational writing now. Okay, what are different greeting examples that I can use? Okay, so when you're using a formal letter, students, just remember, so formal can be addressing maybe the manager of a store, right? Your a police officer, your principal, dear sir or madam, full stop. Right, many of you like to write dear manager of supermarket, whatever, for example, right? You're not wrong, but I'd rather you address as dear sir or madam, because that's very straightforward, very to the point. You know, it gets the idea across, full stop, right? You don't have to think about writing so many words in just your salutation itself. Salutation is meant to be very simple. Salutation is meant to be very polite, and you just address the audience that you're supposed to be dealing with. Very simple. Okay, so these are just some examples. Dear sir, madam, full stop, comma, of course, please remember that. And then you start with, I'm writing to, you know, how are you? Depends on whom you're addressing, of course. Okay, students, so that is for situational writing piece. Remember, try as best as you can to keep 20 minutes, right? Maximum, you go 25 minutes. If that's the case, remember, you got to reduce your writing to 45 minutes. Why I say 20 minutes? Because I want to give you at least 15 minutes to deal with the composition writing, right? Okay, you need the time to plan out your essay, students. Remember, please, 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 for composition. Okay, my notes for composition. Okay, let me use a different color. Since yellow was situational writing, right? Composition, let me use white. Okay, composition, please, students. Okay, remember, first rule to plan it up. Okay, what I mean by plan, what do I mean by plan, right? Get your storyline across, right? Your introduction, how many times I've gone through with you in my lesson, right? Introduction, your rising accent, your rising action, sorry, accent, action, your climax, okay? Your falling action as well, it's your conclusion. Right, students, remember, at least put in bullet point what you're going to be talking about, because when you're very stressed, you tend to forget what you're saying, right? You tend to lose track of what you're planning, what you intend to write, and that's it. Your story goes poof, gone. Okay, so I need you to pay attention to what you intend to write and make sure you execute your plan out effectively, right? Make sure you write them out properly. Okay, I strongly suggest 45 minutes. So how we go about it? Did I give you a breakdown? No. Okay, let me give you a breakdown now. Introduction. You see, if you think about it, let's say we take 45 minutes tops for your composition. Okay, planning, 5 minutes. Planning, 5 minutes. Okay, so you're left with 40 minutes. Okay, how many sections do you have? 1, 2, 3, 4, Fine. Okay, your rising action 10, 10, 10. No argument there. Basically 10, 10, 10 because these are supposed to be your longest sections, right? Climax as best as you can. Remember, what's my rule? Show, not tell. I'll go into this in detail later. Hang on, let me just share with you. So you're left with how many minutes? 40 minutes minus 30 minutes, 10 minutes for introduction. So 5 minutes here, 5 minutes for conclusion, full stop. Don't argue with me. As best as you can, stick to this. 5 minutes, so move, 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 move. It's supposed to be moving. Remember, it is not just about how well you write it. You can be the best author in the world. It's no point if you take 24 hours to write the story. You have 40, 45 minutes tops to write the essay. Bear this in mind. Take out your watch, students. I always tell them, put your watch by your side. Keep a strict eye on it because many of you, when you're engrossed and you're just telling and telling and telling the story, you tend to forget these pointers. I cannot emphasize enough. So let me share with you because I used to be teaching in secondary school. So what happened there was, this was not necessarily just a composition per se, right? So we deal with paper 2 as well. I've got students getting really excited over the summary section. We have the summary section for secondary school, okay? So what happened is that you have a cap, you have a limit of 80 words you're supposed to use for your summary, okay? And at best, I will give them 30 minutes to do it. So my students tend to forget that, you know, they have the comprehension questions as well as the summary, right? So what happened is that they took so long to do their summary. Okay, they started with the summary part, right, of course, and then they forget the comprehension. Not only did they exceed, I think if I remember correctly, they wrote like 95 words. So too bad I strike out 15 words. We are very strict about this in secondary school. Anything that exceeds 80 words, forget it. We are not marking. Don't even talk about, you don't have the time to do the comprehension question. So because of that, they literally messed up that particular section of the paper. And mind you, every single mark counts. I'm sure you know what I mean, right? Every single mark counts. I do not want you to repeat the same mistake for your PSLE, right? It's the end of the year, the end of your primary school. It's like I can literally play the tung 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 music and that's it. You know, you have no more exam after this, right? Make sure you adhere, you stick to the time limit that we share with you because this is tried and tested, right? Many students have gone through this, they find it very manageable, and that's why I'm suggesting these time limits for you. Very good. Okay, thank you so much, Dina Dayalan, right? You have mentioned a very good point. You need to keep track of your time, right? Okay, I'll deal with the scores later. I've got some of you asking me, is it very difficult to get 240, yada, yada. Let me just deal with that later. Okay, let me focus on the writing section first for now. Okay, so sorry, coming back to what I was sharing with you. Yeah, for that secondary school, you know, it's very important. Same thing for primary school, right? PSLE, you need to focus on your time. It's a race against time. I cannot emphasize this enough. Okay, that being said, 5 minutes introduction, 5 minutes conclusion, 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes for your rising action, climax, and your falling action. Okay, students, very, very important. 5 minutes for planning. Please do your planning properly. Okay, the moment you miss that 5 minutes, right, you don't even focus on your planning, that's it. Your entire story, you may be an excellent writer, but the moment you forget what you're going to write about, you forget an important element in your story, poof, your story is gone. Right, so please, preparation is key, right? Remember the night before, okay? So your exam is on Thursday, right? 1st October. Wednesday night, remember what teacher Indra, what teacher Bern, what teacher Ali says to you, right? Practice and rehearse what you're going. So you go and do a lot of mental preparation, right, students? Think about how you run through your exam. I really think that this is very useful. So picture yourself stepping to your exam hall, right? Invigilator giving you time, right? You got to fill in your name, your index number, sorry, not your name, but your index number, right? Picture this in your mind, okay? And then when they say you may start your paper, right? So what are you going to do first? Imagine, okay, your situational writing, you plan out, you look at what your pointers are, A, B, C, D, E, right? I've gone through with you many, many times. Look at your task force, what's required of you. Imagine, run through all these steps in your mind. Be adequately mentally and emotionally prepared for the paper. Physically is a different thing, right? So there are different aspects of our preparation. Mentally, emotionally, be in sync, be prepared, stay calm.